Well, once again, the weather. Most of us have either not had power or still don't have power. Katrina's just come back on yesterday, I believe. Connie's is still off. I've lost it a couple of times. John Prepchuk, my son, our elder, John Napper, Sis. I mean, this has been quite a storm. So once again, I'm coming from here at the house. Haven't really had. I just got in from work myself. Thinking about a verse, scripture that I believe we all know very well, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose. When I was over in Germany, there was no texting, so we'd write back and forth, and always at the bottom of the letters from Mom and Dad, that verse would be, and it'd say, remember, Romans 8:28 through 32, and over the years that verse has grown. It's always been there. It hasn't changed. But the Lord, as He hands it out to each and every one of His little elect, and that's my hope. But I had predestination on my mind. And it does go from the gnat on the wall, and I don't know the why to the galaxies, and to the most magnificent, down to, I think about when the Israel was in the land of Goshen, and the Lord had set a time for Him to judge that people and judge Egypt, and He used the very gods that from the outside looking in, the outside world plus the Egyptians thought that they were powerful gods. So the Lord just turned it around and used them, what they thought were gods, when by the hand of a sovereign God He used them for a purpose that is worthy of Himself. And when I think about that gnat that lands, Elder Randall Pennington, he'd point to the wall and he'd say, where that gnat lands, it talked about the flies in Goshen, and it said not one fly, not one, landed in the land of Goshen. For the Lord put a shield, a barrier between His people. And you fast forward to this day and time. No, all those gods all those false idols are still here. And you can see them in the mission system and the tracks, Sunday schools, and etc., etc. they're still here. The Lord by a mighty hand had brought Israel out of Egypt, and they weren't many days into the journey when Aaron made a golden calf. They used jewelry that they had got from the Egyptians and said, "This be thy God that brought you out." You know, you must be careful, and I think the Lord brings us to that place in the fear that is put in each and every one of His little people, because we don't want to be pointing fingers and say, "I would never do that," because we are all from that corruptible seed. The strong man is bound, but he's still very alive, and that conflict rages within. And when I look at this verse and how it has grown to me, how the Lord has brought it forth, and there's so much more that can be dug from it, because, like I said before, no verse, no man has ever bottomed out any single verse. There's always just a little bit more and a little bit more there. But it says, "And we know." And who is that we? Ephesians 1 explains that in a very, very clear manner. This is not the way I was going to go with this. I had something completely different on my mind, but perhaps we'll get there. "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who hath," in past tense, "blessed us." Who is the us? That's the we. And it doesn't say with a few spiritual blessings. It says with all spiritual blessings, and they're spiritual blessings. But where was it? In heavenly places in Christ. Those blessings were what? "According as He, the Father, hath chosen us once again." And who is the "and we know"? It's that us in Him, Christ. But when did it take place? Before the foundation of the world, that we, and that is that "and we know," that we should be holy and without blame before Him in love. You want to hear what predestination is about? I think I might have said it last week, but I'm going to say it again. Yes, I know that it has to do with that gnat on the wall, to the galaxies, to the depths of the ocean, to every single heavenly body that He laid out there in all its perfection. And the mariners used to use that perfection, and they to guide their ships, because they knew that it was perfect, and if they were using their instruments in a correct manner and a correct way, it would take them to where they were going to be. But the predestination of all things, having predestinated us, there's your hope. There's the hope. Yes, I know that it lays down to what what path we take and when we take it, and the Lord is guiding our steps. Yes, I realize that. But it says, having predestinated us, when? From before the foundation of the world. And how could we, the little elect sheep, child of God, had anything whatsoever to do with that chosen in Him? And I'm thinking of what Brother Poole said. I said it a few weeks back, but I'm going to say it again. He said it's not that the Father just randomly said, I'll take that one and I'll take that one and I think I'll take that one over there. It's His family. It was His family. That was those chosen in Him from before the foundation of this world. You did not choose your mother, and you did not choose your father. And in like manner, when the Lord, He says, and we know, that knowledge, that we is this same ones, that is the us right here, and that know is that spiritual discernment. It's that there are two births, there are two men, there are two seed. You have your corruptible seed and you have your incorruptible seed. It says, and we know, and it is that spiritual discernment. You can have 5 or 6 flocks of sheep out there, and when that one single shepherd, when he hollers for his sheep, they know his voice, and only that those of his flock will come to his voice. It says, and we know that all things, and I want to look at that all things, but let me see. Having predestinated us unto the adoption of children, by who? By Jesus Christ, to Himself, according to the good pleasure of His will. It was who were born not of blood, nor the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. And that takes that takes all of the works of this fleshly man completely and totally out of it. It said over there, let's just go over there. Didn't want to go there this soon. Revelation 21. Here was John talking. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. That old covenant was passed away. That old covenant was set aside when our Lord made that declaration upon the tree, and He said, it is finished. And that veil was rent, and both the Jew and the Gentile. You go over here to Romans 2:29. Didn't have any idea where this was going. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and the circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men but of God. We are in that gospel dispensation now, that seventh day back there, 6 days, which is the number of man, but on the 7th day God rested, and He has brought us in, and by the foolishness of preaching. And what is this? It is the good news. It is the good news that now there is a rest given. And we know it is not by blood, it is not by the will of man, it is of God. And over here in Revelations 21:6, I'll read down through this, but and He said, it is done. Now I've often laid right there, it is finished. But I think that that is going over to even past the resurrection. I do believe our Lord, He ascended up, for He said, "Don't touch me yet." But then He descended back down, and Thomas, Greg, felt His hands and thrust his hand into His side, because He says here, "It is done." Revelation 21 and verse 6. He said, "I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end." And we go over here to Isaiah 46:10. I'm not going to speak very long today. Declaring the end from the beginning. Now, like I said, when Dad used to read, when he used to write those, I took that as in the beginning God created, and it is. And then you go to Revelations where it says amen, which means so be it. And everything that was brought down that is in between those, it shall happen as our sovereign in His almighty power, and in His justice, and in His glory, and in His might, and in His mercy, and in every attribute, that every adjective that can bring forth, it shall happen. Yes. But then I went over and I went to Ecclesiastes, and you look down through chapter 3 and you see those seasons and those times that are in those seasons. That is also the declaration that was made, the end from the beginning. And as you walk through this world and the Lord, and it says, "Is not in man that walketh to direct his steps." That's looking at Christ first in our walk in Him. But then it says, "And from ancient times the things that are not yet done." The fact that it says times in there, I think that is looking to from that garden, from that point when Adam partook of that fruit, and that separation took place. He said, "In the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die." He did not die corporal death, or for we would not be here. That corruptible seed. He did not die a spiritual death, because a spirit cannot die. He died a separation from God. And when we look at that ancient times, and then you come to Moses, and he handed that holy law to Moses, and there is a new beginning there. But there was fault in that, and that fault was that this corruptible seed, it can never ever it can never obey that law in all its perfection. It cannot do it. So this, "And from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all of my pleasure." I was thinking about Peter. He sees that dream that was coming down of the sheet, and he said, "Without objection, I went with them." If it was not for that dream and the Spirit said, I sent them men, he would have objected. But the Lord said, my counsel will stand, and I will do all of my pleasure. Peter had to walk that road. He had to go to that path. And that adds even more to that Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good. To who? To them that love God according to His purpose. And then we go over here. We go back to Revelations 21. John said, and I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God. The works people today are doing everything they can to get them prepared to go up. John said, I seen it, and it came down. This gospel church that is here today, it is here right now. It is in the world, but it is not of the world. Christ said to Pilate, my kingdom is not of this world. And John seen it coming down. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them. And there is that one thing. Do you see how the language of the scripture is? And he will dwell with men. It does not say if they allow him to dwell with them. He says he will dwell with men. And we know that all things work together for good. All things, for he brings them about by his sovereign hand. My counsel will stand, and I will do all of my pleasure from ancient times, even those things that are not yet done. He will bring them to pass in the way that he says. Peter said, he said, of a truth I perceive. He was brought along. Yes, that verse at first, I thought it meant from here to here, and I was correct in that. And then it got narrowed down, and now it's getting narrowed down even more to and it was brought about. Christ said, he told Pilate, you could have no power unless it was given thee from above. From ancient times, those things that are not yet done. And we know that all things work together. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. And I think he is looking to that law. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give ye rest. And he that sat upon the throne, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these things. And he said unto me, it is done. I think that goes beyond it is finished. If I am wrong in that, I apologize, but I think it is done. He said he is the Alpha and he is the Omega. When Stephen was being stoned and he looked up, and who did he see on the right hand of the Father? It was Christ himself standing with his eyes upon his little sheep. That's what he's saying. He says he is the Alpha and he is the Omega. He said it is the done. He is the beginning and he is the end. He came down and the last enemy was death. And he says right here, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Go to 1 Corinthians 16. Apologize, I didn't have this laid out. First Corinthians 1. For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of non-effect. That's and we know it is given to us. For the preaching of the cross is of them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. And that goes right over here to Revelations 21, where when it's talking about there will be no more tears and that death, and the wise, he finished it. He set it aside. He completed it. It is finished. It is done. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? And you take that right back once again to Isaiah. If I can find it here, Isaiah 46:10. And from ancient, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient time the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel will stand, and I will do all my pleasure. And you go right over here to 1 Corinthians 1. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish? For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks they seek after wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified. And they looked at that and they thought it was foolishness. Paul himself, upon the road to Damascus, Jesus said, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? But we preach Christ crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and the Greeks foolish. But to them which are called, both Greeks, both Jews and Greeks, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. 2 Corinthians 3. For as much as you are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Christ ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. And once again, I want to go right back here, and I don't know why I got to read it again. I should know it. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done. And then you go, well, let me finish this. And such trust have we, not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God. It is always pointing to, the Old Testament pointing to Christ, and the gospel being declared pointing back to. But I've often said that, but yet when they said, Moses said, who am I to say? He said, I am. When they asked, he said, before Moses, I am. He is always in the present. Yes, Old Testament, looking forward to the New Testament, looking back. But He is now. He is ever in the present. He is always here. For He said, I will never leave thee, and I will never forsake thee, is what He said. And Titus the first says, a God who cannot lie. I lie. I have and I will from now on, and that is that corruptible seed. But He said, declaring the end from the beginning, ancient times that is not yet done. Those that are under the works, they think that they worship a God that needs man, and they must accept, and they must do this. Ye are idle. But no, it says ancient times, the things that are not yet done. For He says, my counsel will stand, and I will do all my pleasure. And we know that all things work together for good, and it goes, yes, from the gnat to the most magnificent thing there is, to the flies that were in Goshen, that not one of them crossed over. But John said, I saw that New Jerusalem coming down. He's seen it coming down, and the declaration is, it is finished. And the sufficiency is not of us. The sufficiency is of God. And that Romans 8:28, it gets more precious and more precious day by day by day. For it is Christ working in us, is God working in us, both to will and to do of His good pleasure. I think I'm done. I have more, but Lord willing, we will meet next Sunday. Thank you.